You're listening to The Insider, the official podcast for the city of Murfreesboro. I'm Mike Browning. Welcome to The Insider. And our guest today for this special census program are the project coordinator for the special census, Malia Grubbs, and Assistant City Manager Sam Huddleston. It's good to have you both with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
So what is a special census?
Well, Mike, a special census is conducted occasionally by the city of Murfreesboro through permissions with the state of Tennessee, and actually occurs between the every 10-year federal census. The last time that Murfreesboro was counted was with the federal census of 2020, and during that count we had a certified population of 152,769 citizens. The special census is conducted, though, to get a current count, because we know in the city of Murfreesboro we've grown significantly since the last count in 2020. In fact, we know that we issued residential building permits for 7,600 new residential units, and that alone would be several thousand, maybe 17,000 to 18,000 individuals who we know moved into those new homes. In addition to that, we know that there's been a net increase in migration, folks moving into our community, less the folks moving out. And then Murfreesboro and Rutherford counties are one of the few communities in Tennessee where there's been a net population growth for births compared to deaths. And so when all of those things add together, we believe that the city of Murfreesboro has grown easily by an additional 20,000 residents. Now, the state of Tennessee allows communities to conduct that special census from time to time to update their certified population because of how they share revenues back with the community.
So what information are we asking for, Malia? What do we need to know?
Well, it's not much. All we need to know is the physical address, how many people live in the house, so a count of the number of people that live in the house, and then the first and last name of each person that lives there.
So it's really
That's
basic. I mean, it's information that people can fill out within like a minute.
Right.
A minute and a half.
Our form, the way that it's done, is it will take about a minute and a half. There's one extra question in there on how did you hear about it, and you can answer that, was it website, city event, whatever, wherever you heard about it. That's the only extra question we have.
And what are we doing to reach people to make sure that they follow through and conduct this census for us?
Well, there's several ways. We've been attending city events, park and rec events. We have reached out to city schools. We have all of our community partners spreading the word. The Square, all the businesses there have partnered with us and sharing information. There's several ways that we've got the word out.
And online, it's very simple to do it online. There's a link that people can go to, right?
There is a link. There's a QR code that takes you straight to the webpage, and there's also a link, www.murfreesborocensus.com. That takes you right to it. You'll see a button that says Special Census Form. Click on that and get started.
And what is that website, Sam? Like, what is it designed to do for the city?
So the website allows us to collect the information in a secure environment. The only purpose for that website is the special census, and it takes you to a secure server, and the information is then stored in a secure database that is not connected to anything else. Only our city staff have access to that.
And the citizens can get to that easily just by going right on our homepage, right?
They can get to it through the city's website. There's a link, a button on our website that would allow them to get access, and then the couple of other ways that you mentioned, the QR code and the murfreesborocensus.com.
Which is the direct way to get there. And people could do that, like if they're listening to this right now or watching it on YouTube, they could just go right there and start filling it out right now.
Exactly.
Yes. It's that simple.
Yes, we'd encourage any of the Murfreesboro residents who are watching this podcast or tuning into this podcast, while they have a couple of minutes, it only takes a couple of minutes to do that. To go to murfreesborocensus.com. It'll ask you your address. There'll be some suggestions on there on your address as you start entering characters, and select the suggestions that actually represent your address. And it's going to ask you how many residents live at that location, and then you would list the first and last name. You give the number first, and then you would list the first and last name of each resident living there. And then there's going to be a follow-up question on how you heard about the census. Really 4 steps. It only takes about 2 minutes to do for most people. And we do get questions from time to time, Mike, about special circumstances about people living in their homes. And so we'd like to give you a little bit of additional information on that if possible.
So I guess, Malia, that when people look at who's in their home, it's not just adults, it's children, it's newborns. I mean, who else is included in that number that we're trying to reach?
Everybody that lives at the home. So if you have your son-in-law and your daughter and their family living in your house, they are listed as well. Grandparents that are living in your house, they are listed too. Everybody that lives in the house.
And it's my understanding that even people who don't necessarily dwell there right now, but they may be in college or the military, if that's their permanent residence, right?
That's correct, Mike, yes.
So you want to make sure that if you're filling that out, you're including those additional people, students and military.
That's right.
Great. Let's talk a little bit more about the security of it, because a lot of people, when they think about having to fill out information, especially if they're giving names, they worry a little bit in today's day and age because of fraud. What can you say about that, Sam, that relieves people of that concern?
Sure. Our database is secure. It's not connected to other servers or other internet connections, only going through that secure server. Only our city staff and staff from the Greater Nashville Regional Council will see the address database. And so that database is kept secure, and it's only used for purposes of a certified count and a follow-up audit by the Greater Nashville Regional Council. We do keep the information here for a record to be able to reestablish that data if necessary, if we do get a request for a follow-up audit or additional information from the state.
Why does the information go to the GRNC?
Greater Nashville Regional Council will be providing an audit for us. And part of the rules by the state of Tennessee for a special census, there are rules on how we count and who we count, but there's also a requirement that we are audited. And the Greater Nashville Regional Council, they're a recognized agency to perform an audit by the state of Tennessee, and so we've contracted with them to provide that audit.
Malia, you've already been out at some events or some organized activities where you've shared this with them. What's the response been?
Oh, the response has been great. First, since I've been hitting the events early on, people didn't know about it. So I had to explain to them what we were doing and why, and the response back from that was, yes, we have grown. Yes, this is important. Everybody that lives in the city that knows how important it is will say they totally understand, because they can tell that we have grown, and it would definitely come in handy.
Well, while we're talking about how important it is to get the message out and people not knowing about it, we want to let you know that Mayor McFarland has a message, and we'll let you know what he has to say about it.
Can we count you in? The City of Murfreesboro is conducting a special census, and we need you. We want to get an accurate count of our residents compared to the last census. The more people that are counted, the more state shared revenue dollars Murfreesboro receives. Cities throughout Tennessee receive approximately $175 per resident. Those dollars shared with us will greatly benefit our community, build roads, maintain parks, improve public safety, and much more. Another big benefit is the more dollars we receive could also help keep our taxes low. You can complete the special census by going to murfreesborocensus.com and filling out your information online. All we need is your address and the first and last names of everyone living at your home. That's it. We will also be mailing census packets that can be filled out and returned. The information you provide will only be used for the census and nothing else. For those that don't respond, the Fire Rescue Department will go door to door to those homes asking for your help. Again, the information collected will only be used for the census. We need everyone to participate, so take part in our 2025 special census to make our community even better.
So what are some of the different activities or different aspects of the campaign overall that you are doing to make sure that everyone is counted? Because it's not just reaching out to media. There's in activities, like you're going to activities, but there's multiple things that you're doing.
Yeah, certainly. The first push was establishing the website, publishing that. We did a media release. We've done some social media posts. We've activated our city staff to be ambassadors for us at each one of our city facilities. where there's contact with our residents. We've asked them to inform the citizens of the opportunity to do that. Malia can talk to us a little bit about the mailer and some of the follow-up work that she'll be doing with some of our community partners and the door-to-door visits.
So there's going to be a mailer as well.
That's correct. So probably here in November, we'll be sending out a mailer. So if anybody is uncomfortable with using a QR code or does
don't
not
wanna
have
go on the
access to
internet.
a computer, or they're not comfortable doing things like that on the computer, we will have a mailer that will have a response card in it, and they just handwrite, fill it out, and then there's a postage paid envelope, and then they just stick it in there and send it right back to us at no cost to them at all.
Let's say somebody doesn't receive it. I can't imagine that, but they either lose it in the mail or somehow it doesn't get to them. Are there hard copies available somewhere?
There will be hard copies available. They could pick them up straight here at City Hall.
So who should they email if they have questions?
They can email census@murfreesborotn.gov if they have any questions or they need a hard copy delivered to them. We'll get it to them.
Okay. And Sam, let's say we've gotten through this process and the response is still a little bit weak, which it typically is because not everybody responds. What's the next avenue sometime or early next year to reach all those people?
So in previous special census activities, we've engaged the help of our Murfreesboro firefighters to have them go door to door to non-responsive addresses. And so we're gearing them up to start that activity very soon. We'll be out in the communities and neighborhoods knocking doors and asking them, first of all, if they're aware of the special census and can they respond. We'll be able to collect the data at their doorstep if they're ready to provide it, or we'll have a hard copy of the form that they can actually hand fill out there as well. And we'll start doing that. They'll also ask about smoke detectors and if smoke detectors are needed or if they need to be checked. And so we'll also use this as an opportunity to check some of our homes for proper smoke detectors or operating smoke detectors. And the fire department can install a smoke detector in your house if you do not currently have one. So we'll use that door-to-door activity for a dual purpose.
So is this where the good technology, GIS, comes in handy? And maybe the listeners should understand what that means. Like, you're able to know who hasn't responded because of technology.
Yes, in our database for the addresses that have responded and the addresses that have not responded, we can actually produce a map or a data set that shows us the addresses that have not responded, where they're located, and then we can use that to target our door-to-door activities. And in some streets, we looked at our last special census, some streets there were blocks, literally blocks, where there was not a single response on that street, and it might consist of 20 homes. And so we can target those areas specifically for door-to-door activities. We do know that people don't always check their mail, or they don't always check their utility bill, or there's other ways they may not get information the way that we put the information out. And so, the door-to-door campaign is really sort of the final effort for us to reach into their home, reach into our community for those hard-to-reach, non-responsive addresses.
We've discussed a lot about the process of being counted and people making sure that they are in that process and helping the city, but we haven't discussed a whole lot about the benefits to the city and really to everyone who lives in Murfreesboro.
Certainly. Mike, the opportunity here really is for state shared revenue. I mentioned earlier our certified population and the number that the state of Tennessee uses to share revenues back with the city of Murfreesboro is 152,769 individuals.
Which we're a lot bigger than that, we think.
We believe we're quite a bit more than that. The state of Tennessee shares approximately $175 per person per year with the city of Murfreesboro from a variety of revenue sources that are managed by the state of Tennessee. That simple math is almost $27 million per year that's added to the city revenue that helps us meet our expenses. If our estimate is correct, and we believe that certified count can increase by at least 20,000, that would mean an additional $3.75 million per year added to the city's revenue side of the budget, allowing us to offset expenses for public safety, for schools, for parks and recreation, for streets, for other general city operations. And that's about a 15% increase in that state shared revenue budget.
And you know as well as anyone, because this is what you deal with, the expense of building roads and bridges. Most people probably aren't aware of just how expensive those are.
Certainly the cost of construction for the city of Murfreesboro for roads and bridges has increased significantly in the last few years. And we just reviewed with our mayor and council a capital improvement plan that was major capital projects that we project over the next, say, 5 to 10 years. And Mike, there's over $1 billion worth of projects on that list. That includes new roads, new parks, public safety facilities like new fire stations, police precincts, and in that number also includes upgrades to city schools, as well as a possibility of a new city school that may be needed in the near future.
And if the city's not able to generate this revenue from this state shared source legitimately from the number of the population we have, then we have to come up with that money somewhere else.
Yes, and so one of the things, by managing this opportunity with the state and the state shared revenue, it can help keep our property taxes down in the city of Murfreesboro. And we have some forms of revenue that come into the city, property tax being one, sales tax being one, and the state shared revenues being one, that are very significant sources of revenue. And so when we're aligning expenses and revenues, when we get that additional state shared revenue, it actually allows us to fund more activities, and it also helps us delay or defer a real look at property tax increases.
Malia, there are some people who are aware of this and they're immediately going to go on. They feel like they're, doing their civic duty to be a part of it. Some people are just willing to do that. But there are other people who are reluctant, and so you have certain populations that you're trying to reach that that the last time that they were difficult and this time, they may be difficult to reach too. Some of it's because of language barrier. So what are some of those populations that that you're going to have to give some extra attention to?
Well, one of the populations, like you said, are the population that maybe English is not their first language. So we need to be able to reach out to them to let them know what it means, how safe it is. It's just the count. We're just trying to get an accurate count of the city of Murfreesboro. So there's not going to be anything that would cost them anything or nothing to be worried about. So we need to be able to express that where people can understand it. Even some of the other demographics that I've run into that just may not understand what the census is and what it might mean to them, not just the city. We need to be able to express that and what the census means, how important it is, how safe it is. So I want to get that across different age groups, different cultures, everybody that lives in the city. It could really benefit all of us.
And one of those groups, Sam, that may not realize the full importance of being counted would be MTSU off-campus students.
Yes, an MTSU off-campus student may not realize, if they're living in Murfreesboro, that we need to count them as well. They do consume city services. They certainly drive on city streets. Occasionally there's a need for public safety, a police officer or a first responder call, or hopefully not, but a need for our fire services. But those are all individuals that we provide services to in a year, and they're in our community most often 10 months out of the year. So if you're an MTSU student and you've moved to Murfreesboro to attend at our campus, we would encourage you to fill out the special census. And many of those living arrangements, you may be in a shared suite arrangement with suite mates, and those are all going to be tracked back to a single unit address. And so we really need all of the suite mates, or all of the individuals that may be living in that apartment, or all of the individuals that may be living in for example, a single-family house that's being rented by a group of students. We need all the names and first and last names of all the residents who live there, not one entry per individual.
So what about multifamily housing? We know a lot of that is off-campus MTSU, but really throughout our entire city, because that cost of housing is higher, and now we have more rental housing. Right?
Certainly, workforce housing, and student housing that's apartment-based. Each one of those units represents a single residential address, and our database would see that as a unit. And so in those cases, whether it's a family that's living there or a group of students who share in that rent, we need to know the names of all the individuals that live there and the count of how many live there.
What is the number in Murfreesboro now owned housing versus rental? Is it about even, a 50-50, or what's that number?
It's probably closer to 60-40, 60 owned and about 40% rental. And I think I shared with you earlier, but I'll share it again here, that we have about 75,000 residential addresses in our emergency response database, and that's the address database we use for 911 dispatching for calls for emergency services.
And that brings up the issue that with the website, it's my understanding that people, if they were really curious about it, they could follow the count. They could go on and see where the count is, right?
Yes, that's true. There is, I wanted to say too, when Sam was talking about us being able to track the areas, that is not available on the website. So nobody has to worry that their address is going to pop up there.
Yeah, that's a good point. But
So
you can
there
follow
is
the number.
Yes, you can follow the count of the household and then the number of people.
Because, almost like a fundraising campaign, some people are really interested in seeing where are we going? Are we going to meet the goal, and how close are we? I mean, in fact, I wondered if you've thought about how many you would like to get per month or per week. Do you have a certain goal, or you're just trying to get there?
So to meet our goal, we think we need about 60,000 addresses responding, 60 to 65,000. There are 75,000 residential addresses in that. We have about 5 months to do that. That's about 15,000 per month.
If you break it down into
That's
that,
about 3,000 per week and about 500 per day.
So you have thought about it.
I have thought about it, and we've been watching our on our dashboard, patiently looking for those numbers to increase. And we've done a bit of a slow rollout here at the start. We'll continue to push hard, but we do need our residents' cooperation in this to respond early. And help us achieve the numbers we need to achieve.
So you said 5 months, Sam. So there is a deadline. You have to turn something in to somebody at some point.
Yes, certainly. So we can count through February, but March the 1st we have to close our database and turn that over to the Greater Nashville Regional Council. We'll deliver to them a database, and much like an Excel spreadsheet, that'll be address and then the names of each individual at that address. But we have to turn that in on March the 1st. They'll then use that to set up an audit program, and they'll be going door to door in the March and April time frame. And then between us and our work and the Greater Nashville Regional Council's work, we'll arrive at a new certified population, and we'll share that with the state of Tennessee through the Boyd Center at UT Knoxville. And they are the caretaker of state economic and population data. And then they'll share that with the state of Tennessee for their budgeting purposes by May the 15th, so that the next budget cycle, the state of Tennessee will be able to properly budget state shared revenues with Murfreesboro.
But in terms of Malia's responsibility, she has to get this done by the end of February, right?
Yes. So I'm checking those numbers every day.
Yeah, not to put too much weight on you, but it is murfreesborocensus.com that you want people to go to, and that's the simplest way. If you just go to that site, you can do it there, or when you see the QR code somewhere, fill that up.
Yes.
Anything else that you guys wanted to?
Well, I did want to mention that we are having a drawing too.
Oh, yeah.
So, like you were saying, the easiest way is to do it online. You can do it by the QR code or the website, murfreesborocensus.com, and we will be having 3 different drawings for a $100 gift card. So those drawing dates are November 27th will be the very first one. Then we'll have one on January 3rd and one on February 14th. The earlier you do it online,
You could be in all 3.
the more chances you have
Yeah.
to win.
You can only win once, but you can.
You can only
be
win
it.
once, that's correct, but it has to be the online entry, and then there's 3 different drawings. Now, we are not asking for phone numbers or email addresses. We are only asking for what the census needs. So in order to find out if you won, you have to check the website to see if your name is on there listed as a winner after these dates that I gave.
All right, thank you. Good luck with this campaign.
Well, thank you,
Thank you.
Mike, and the communications team here at the City of Murfreesboro been very helpful in helping us produce content, reaching out into social media, the broadcast media, and so we appreciate the cooperation of the whole City of Murfreesboro team.
Well, we'll keep doing that because it benefits us all, right?
That's true.
That's correct.
Count me in.
Count me
Count
in.
me in.
Well, you've been listening to The Insider, and our topic today has been the census, the special census here in Murfreesboro. Again, the city's secure website for filling out the census is murfreesborocensus.com. If you have questions, you can email census@murfreesborotn.gov or call 615-893-5210. We've been highlighting the special census. We're originating this podcast from City Hall, so thanks a lot for listening via Podbeam and all our other multiple platforms here at the city. Our producer is Michael Nevels. For more information on the City of Murfreesboro, it's murfreesborotn.gov. The Insider is the official podcast for the City of Murfreesboro. I'm Mike Browning. Thanks a lot for joining us.